At the edge of the universe, when light and darkness were still struggling for the first piece of land, one name echoed through all ages: Odin. He was not a god born omnipotent, nor was he granted eternal light. Odin was a seeker. A lone traveler crossing time and the 9 realms to find the ultimate knowledge. But that knowledge was not found in books or divine dreams. It lay deep beneath the roots of the world tree Yggdrasil, where the well of Mimir held all ancient wisdom of existence. And to reach it, Odin did what no one dared. He sacrificed one of his eyes. From that moment, he was no longer an ordinary god. One eye lost, but a new vision opened. Odin, the blind one, became the all-seeing. Yet, this was only the beginning. Behind knowledge was pain, behind sight was understanding, and behind the light, an unimaginable price he had to pay. Join me as we step into the journey of sacrifice, where light and darkness merge within the greatest god of the North. Before he was known as the supreme god, Odin was once a warrior, proud, brave, but not yet wise. When the world was chaotic, the 9 realms unshaped, ancient forces often clashed, fought, and betrayed. The Aesir gods, Odin's tribe, strong as they were, had to constantly battle forces like the frost giants Jotnar. And dark spirits, Odin knew well, brute strength alone could not keep peace nor conquer fate. No matter how sharp the sword, it would dull. No matter how strong the walls, they would fall. But wisdom, if grasped, could bend destiny itself. One endless night in the wild lands of Niflheim, Odin looked up to the bright northern sky and asked himself, "What makes me different from mortals or beings stronger than me? What is it, if not knowledge?" From that moment, he began the quest for ultimate wisdom. Not power, not immortality, but understanding the essence of the universe, of good and evil, of fate and death. And that journey had no map, no guide, no teacher, only ancient whispers of a place, the well of Mimir, deep beneath Yggdrasil's roots, holding every memory and knowledge since creation. Odin knew, to become the leader of Asgard, he must pay a price. And that price began with an eye. Crossing frozen lands, through dark forests where beasts roared in the mist, Odin journeyed alone southward, to the very roots of Yggdrasil, the world tree. There, deep underground, lay Mimir's well, a spring flowing since before time had a name. Legend said whoever drank from it would understand everything, from the secrets of the stars to the end of the world. But no one reached it easily, nor dared demand anything from Mimir, the guardian of knowledge, an ancient spirit beyond time, with eyes that pierced souls and a voice like cold wind down your spine. When Odin appeared, cloak dusty from the road, spear Gungnir in hand, eyes burning with desire, Mimir was not surprised. He whispered, "You come for knowledge? Do you know everything has a price?" Odin nodded. No pleading, no bargaining. Mimir stepped forward, eyes shining like water. True knowledge does not come from seeing. It comes from daring to lose. Without hesitation, Odin drew his knife, raised his hand, and gouged out his left eye. Blood dripped onto the cold earth. Mimir's gaze never wavered, unmoved. Odin did not cry out. Only the wind howled and his heart pounded. That eye he threw into the well, sinking into the deep waters of knowledge, a token exchanged for eternal understanding. At that instant, his mind exploded. Ancient memories flooded in. He saw the dawn of light, giants born from fire and ice, forgotten prophecies, the true nature of life and death. But with knowledge came pain. Odin foresaw betrayals yet to come, saw friends turn to foes, saw his own death and the fall of Asgard. From that day, Odin was no longer a proud god who only knew war. He returned to Asgard with one shining eye, one empty socket, but a mind filled with cosmic wisdom. 2 ravens, Hugin and Munin, thought and memory, appeared as if born from his mind, flying daily to gather news across the 9 realms, then returning to whisper secrets the world hid. From then on, Odin did not see with eyes, but with wisdom. He saw clearer than anyone, yet from that day he never slept peacefully again. Each dream was a warning, each vision a dark memory yet to happen. And he knew, the deeper the knowledge, the higher the price. Mimir's well gave him sight across time, but in return, Odin bore an invisible wound, bloodless, yet cutting deep into his soul every day. And that was only the beginning. Having gained knowledge from Mimir's well, Odin seemed to have reached the peak of understanding. But the one-eyed god soon realized, knowledge is not just seeing and knowing, but wielding and shaping the fate of the world itself. He had seen the future, a bloody future where Ragnarok, the end of days, would engulf all, gods, humans, all, 9 realms. And though he foresaw his own death, Odin refused to sit idle and accept fate. He decided he must learn to bend destiny. But how to change what was written into the flow of time? The answer lay in the ancient runes, sacred symbols holding primal power, a secret language that could speak with the cosmos, manipulate magic, shape fate, even life and death. The problem was, no one had ever mastered the secret of the runes. To understand them, one must do something insane, an ancient ritual long forgotten, an absolute sacrifice. Without urging, without praying to other gods, Odin bound himself and hung upside down on Yggdrasil, the world tree, the axis connecting, the 9 realms where all life and death cycle. He hung between earth and sky, 9 days and nights with no food, no water, no healing. Every second passed like a lifetime fading away. Cold wind pierced through his bones. Ravens screamed above. Dry leaves fell one by one, as if time itself was rotting before his eyes. No one came to save him. No prayers were made for him. No god dared intervene. This was a journey alone into death, to be reborn in the light of eternal knowledge. On the 9th night, when blood covered his body, pain turned to numbness. His soul seemed ready to leave his body. A cracking sound echoed from deep within his spirit. At that moment, ancient runes appeared before Odin's eyes, glowing like fire, alive like spirits. They were not just letters, but living beings, the principles of life, the secret the entire universe hid. Odin did not learn the runes like learning a language. He absorbed them, feeling every vibration of the universe through each character. There were runes of protection, runes representing truth and lies, runes that could bind an oath, runes that could summon the souls of the dead, and especially runes that could change fate, something he always sought. When Odin understood the runes, he fell from the tree, but he was no longer himself. He was reborn, not physically, but in will. From a warrior craving power, he became a god of wisdom, magic, and destiny. From him came the cider, prophetic magic. Odin taught the gods and mortals, spreading it to the world like a spark ready to ignite. But from then on, he was no longer part of the original order. Every time he read a line of rune, Odin knew he challenged ancient laws, and deep inside he understood, nothing comes for free. Each time he used that power, he stepped closer to the apocalypse he had seen in Mimir's well. 9 days hanging on, the tree, not dying, but never living the same again. Odin, the one-eyed god, now the all-seeing, but also the bearer of the burden of countless lifetimes. From that moment, Ragnarok was no longer something that would come, but something he silently prepared for inevitably. Though he drank from Mimir's well, though he absorbed the power of the ancient runes, Odin could never erase that image from his mind. Ragnarok, the end of all things, not a dream, not a vague warning, but a prophecy etched deep within the roots of Yggdrasil, where he once hung himself seeking knowledge. In that vision, he saw the fire of Muspelheim sweeping across the realms like a raging ocean. Jormungandr, the giant serpent, rising, coiling around the world. Fenrir, the giant black wolf, breaking his chains, opening his jaws to swallow the sun. And he, Odin, fighting until his last breath, then falling under Fenrir's jaws, his death was not the worst part, but that all his efforts, sacrifices, and knowledge seemed powerless to stop fate. Yet Odin was no one to surrender easily. He knew that foreseeing death was not to escape it, but to prepare. So instead of crying or hiding, he silently prepared. For Ragnarok, step by step, like a chess player arranging the final moves in a game of life and death. He sent young gods like Thor, Baldur, Tyr to train and learn, preparing for the final battle. He summoned the souls of great fallen warriors, leading them to Valhalla, training them into the immortal Einherjar, ready to fight when Ragnarok came. Still, each night, when the cold wind swept through the throne of Asgard, Odin gazed east, where the sun dimmed and darkness grew longer. He knew all signs were appearing. Winters growing longer than usual, humans rising against each other, the roots of Yggdrasil beginning to rot, and Loki, the trickster god, revealing his rebellious nature. One day, in the silence of the deep night, the Norns, the three fates, came to Asgard's gates. They spoke little, leaving only a tattered cloth embroidered with a bloody scene. Death close to life, the world turned to ashes. Odin did not retreat, but his remaining eye darkened with smoke and fire, for he saw not only his own fate, but the end of the world. And the most painful thing was, no one believed him. No one truly understood. To mortals, he was bloodthirsty. To gods, cold and secretive. No one saw the loneliness inside the one-eyed god, who saw everything but could not speak all he knew, because if he revealed it all, the world would collapse. Then and there. So he stayed silent. He kept watching, remembering, preparing for the final day. Not to avoid it, but to face it, with all a god dares to sacrifice. And so, the prophecy was no longer a burden, but a torch, burning quietly, in Odin's hand, lighting the path into darkness. When Ragnarok came, just as Odin saw, he did not flee or beg for mercy. He held Gungnir, rode Sleipnir into the last battle, knowing he would fall to Fenrir's jaws, yet faced it with courage. For Odin, death was not the end, but the completion of a mission. He lived not only to rule, but to see clearly, understand deeply, and prepare for the inevitable. In the darkness, he sowed the light of knowledge. In the cold price of fate, he kindled the fire of hope with his own sacrifice. Odin's legacy was not the throne, nor weapons or kingdom. It was knowledge, courage, and the desire to rise above destiny. He was the blind god, yet the one who saw beyond all, the one who saw the end, but never stopped beginning. And so, Odin was not just a god of war or wisdom, but an immortal symbol of a soul daring to sacrifice everything, just to understand and to protect the world he loved. You have traveled with Odin through his painful journey to gain wisdom and deep understanding of fate. But the Norse myth does not end here. In the next episode, we will enter the world of Thor, the mighty thunder god with his legendary hammer Mjolnir, Loki, the trickster who sows chaos among the realms, and the untold secrets of Asgard, the god's home and the stage for fateful battles. Will Thor defy the fate Odin foresees? What will Loki bring to the god's destiny? And will Asgard's power help the world survive Ragnarok? Let's discover together in the next chapter of Norse mythology, where each god carries a story full of drama, power, and hidden mysteries.
Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the video. If you found the video helpful and interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any future videos. Wishing you a wonderful day, and see you in the next video.